Slow down. Slow down. You move too fast. You got to make more than last. Skipping down, looking for life on the feeling. Feeling groovy. You're way better than the 8 o'clockers. They were so offbeat. Honestly, you were really up. Now, that is a silly way to start an Easter sermon. That is irreverent and totally inappropriate. And I am so sorry. You guys are going to go out today and you're going to talk to your friends at coffee and you're going to say, wow, what did your preacher preach about? They'll be like, oh, my preacher talked all about Jesus and everything. And like, mine sang a song from the 70s and I did not know. Feeling groovy. No, I was thinking about that this week because what I really want to talk to you about is what it is to be at an Easter service and what you remember about an Easter service. Because the thing is, I can tell you one thing for certain. You are not going to remember a single word that I say today. You know how I know that? Because I've listened to dozens and dozens and dozens of sermons on Easter morning, and I couldn't tell you a single word from any of them. I couldn't. And I was with a bunch of preachers this week. I was with a bunch of pastors from different churches, and I said to them, hey, you guys, can you remember any single sermon? Anything? Just give me a phrase from any sermon that you've ever heard. And they all said, I can't. Now, I do remember one phrase or refrain from a sermon that I preached. And I'll tell you about that after a bit. But I'm not too worried about you remembering what I'm going to say, because you won't. Okay? But you might remember a feeling. See, that's my point. Now, I want to tell you about my biggest memory from Easter. It was right here in this church about 20 years ago or so. I used to sing in the choir. Thank you. By the way, was the choir not brilliant today? Yes. The choir. Thank you. Honestly, it was so amazing to hear you today. So anyway, my memory that I remember, so when I think of Easter in church, here's what I think of. The doors were closed, so I closed them this morning. And Father Warren was at there. And all of a sudden, it was 10 o'clock straight up, and the organ started playing. And we started singing this amazing song, and he bust open the doors, and the choir was lined up down the hall, and all I could hear was all around me, Jesus Christ is risen today. Hallelujah. Our triumphant Easter day. Hallelujah. I mean, it gives me goosebumps to think about it. That was such an amazing memory of mine. I don't remember a thing about the sermon. I'm sure it was brilliant because he was brilliant. But I don't remember a single word from it. I remember that, how I felt. And what I want you to remember this morning is that Easter in church is that feeling. It might be a song. It might be a prayer. It might be somebody next to you, right? But I want you to remember this electric, joyful, light feeling that comes to us when we experience something that is intensely beautiful and deeply meaningful, like Easter. You know, you don't need theology today, do you? You know the theology, don't you? You know the story of, look, maybe this is your first day on planet Earth. I don't know. But if it is, and you've happened to stumble in here and you've never heard the story before, let me tell you. Jesus Christ was born from a virgin, and he was fully man and fully God together in one. And he lived, and he taught. He was also a preacher and a rabbi, and he did miracles, and he walked the earth, and they killed him. They crucified him on a cross, and when he was dead, they put him in a tomb. And they took a stone and they rolled the stone against that tomb, against the entrance to that tomb, because they didn't want anybody to steal the body. And they sealed it up so nobody would come and take it. And then the next day, some women went to anoint the body, as was their custom. And when they got there, the stone was rolled away. And the angel said to them, what are you looking for? And they said, we're looking for Jesus. And he said, he's not here. And that tomb was empty. Which is the refrain from the sermon that I do remember preaching. And that also gives me goosebumps. That tomb was empty. Now, what else do I remember from Easter's past? I remember our backyard. We used to live on 6th Avenue. And our backyard, and it was Easter morning. And my son, my oldest son, who is now 39, was 5 or 6 years old, little skinny, toe-headed kid. And we're in the backyard, and he had a little basket on Easter, and he had a yellow suit on, and a red bow tie. And I'm telling you, I think back on Easter, and those are the two memories that come to me. Do you have those memories? Maybe it was you in that little suit or dress, yes? Maybe it was your children. I don't know. But I'm telling you that Easter is all about the experiences that we have, the feelings. Because listen, if you don't get joyful knowing that Jesus Christ was raised from the dead, and therefore death has no power over us, in other words, there is no death, that we will live forever with God. If that doesn't make you happy, I don't know what I have for you. So slow it all down. Take it all in today. Experience it all. Keep it with you all year. And remember that we have a lot of feelings. And they all come from God. This joy, this fear, this excitement, this amazement, this sadness, this nostalgia, this hopefulness, this wonder that is Easter. Those come from God. And we have a lot of those feelings. But we have one story. We really have one story. Jesus, whose birth was miraculous, whose life was scandalous, whose death was horrendous, and whose resurrection was preposterous. Now that is a brilliant turn of phrase. I wrote that just for you. Did you like it? I mean, that's the best thing I've written all year. Seriously. I'm going to repeat it because it's that good. Ready? Jesus, whose birth was miraculous, whose life was scandalous, whose death was horrendous, whose resurrection was preposterous. That is a brilliant turn of phrase, and you won't remember it. I worked hard on it. 1 million gallons of printer ink were spent this week writing the perfect sermon. And millions of beautiful and meaningful theological words will be spoken this morning about Jesus. And I don't know if any of them will be remembered. But there is one simple fact, and it is the basis of our entire lives. Our whole theology hinges. It is the foundation on which all these other things are built. It is the whole point of the entire Gospel of Mark. That tomb was empty. And if you can't remember anything else about the Christian life, that's a pretty good thing to remember. And I'm telling you, it gives me goosebumps. And that's how I know. I feel good.